He does mesmerism and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was on cancer research, and
oh wow,
yeah, it was really interesting.
Cool. So now you got somebody else who can teach us a class based on what she just learned.
And we are recording. We are live. Welcome back to Triple T, number 22 on May 31st, 2022. Number 22 of the 22. And we made it this far. Holy cow. Thank you for tuning in. For those of you that are watching the recordings for the very first time, welcome. If this is the very first one you clicked on, my name is TJ Zebel. I am a professional problem solver, and I've got to solve one of my own problems here quick because I forgot to mute this. There we go. Gotta love all of the other stuff. Okay, back to squirrels and doing things live. That's right. This is not rehearsed. This is not all the above. Do me a favor, though. Click the subscribe button and click on the bell. Share this with as many people as you can. And come back and join us each week. We do this every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Central, live from Dallas, and people tuning in from around the world, and I appreciate you all. Okay, that was a long intro. All right. Hello, Lenora. Got all sorts of awesome peeps here. So I'm going to ask you guys, anybody got anything to share from the last week or so that we should know about, hear about, enjoy hearing? Yes, please.
Yes, I did a course here in Australia, and it was the gentleman who ran the course is a hypnotherapist. And it was about he's done a lot of research. He's done some research in Europe, and his work on cancer patients. And he was part of, I think, I'm not sure how big the research was. Yeah, they funded it themselves, and they had like a proper research with clinicians and scans and all of that. And yes, it was really interesting. I don't know the numbers. It's in I have like a PDF with all the details on the research. Yes, it's amazing on how many patients had spontaneous remissions with hypnotherapy.
What?
And it was also nice to see that they managed pain, drug-related side effects. It kind of seriously improved quality of life, even there were terminal cancer, stage 4. But that was really, he went through it, and that was really interesting, really interesting.
Very cool.
How we can focus on what we can, and yeah, that was really fascinating.
Looking forward to hearing more about it. Keep us informed on what you find out and what strikes you the most about it.
It was fascinating. It's some of it was a bit radical, and I'm not sure I can mention it on here. I don't want to be targeted. But it was really interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Anybody else got anything they want to share? And there you have it. Posted a few things on Facebook for tonight's discussion. Relationships and manifesting, and I didn't write it down because I got distracted by a very big squirrel, and so we'll figure out the rest. But just before I got on, somebody had brought up, or I'd heard about anxiety attacks and wanted to share, because it's pretty common. I don't know if I don't know if I've met anybody that has never felt anxiety, and as such, it's a big finance. It's a big thing with the clients that I work with, and so I figured I'd touch on it again real quick, especially for my peeps back home. The area that I grew up in got hit really hard this weekend with storms and tornadoes. And so I'm sure there's lots of understandable anxiety going on there. What I understand about anxiety and how I approach it, especially with my clients, anxiety, anger, and excitement are all basically the same energy. The difference between them being anxiety is more fear-based without a foundation. A lot of times when I have a client who is undergoing a lot of anxiety, or if I meet somebody in public and, they've got, I ask them what's going on. I've got a lot of anxiety going on. First thing I'll ask them is my standard questions. Is it your energy or is it somebody else's, kind of like an energy spider web that you walk through? And they'll give me that look like, what? Of course it's mine. I'm feeling it. But when I go, ask your subconscious, is it yours or is it somebody else's, that, like an energy spider web you walk through, from family, friends, the media, social media, whatever. What was it that brought it about? And what does that make you afraid of? Because once you can define it as a fear and understand what it is, then it becomes much easier to attack. If you just have the energy and you don't know where it's coming from, it's really hard to figure out how to shut it off. Now, if the question comes in, is it your energy or somebody else's? And the answer comes back, it must be somebody else's. Then you get to ask yourself, do I want to keep it or can I get rid of it? If it's truly yours, then you can do a little more research as to where did it come from, what else could it be, come up with 3 answers. When you understand what the fear is actually about, now you can look for the lessons that were inside of the energy. Once you've got the lessons, you can get rid of the rest of the stuff. You also have the ability to figure out how you can turn it into excitement. Fear and excitement are very, very similar energies. The metaphor that I use with it most commonly is roller coasters. Roller coasters are those worldwide phenomena that people love them, hate them, or are terrified of them. And you take somebody that on a scale of 1 to 10, if they're at a 10 being high, I mean, they can't even watch it on television. Just the idea of somebody bringing up roller coaster and their palms are sweating and their heart rate is already up and they're freaking out, and that's fear moving into the anxiety level. Then you've got the level 1 person who, what a waste of time. I mean, you're not going to die. 2 hours walking through the stanchion so you can sit in a little bucket for a 30-second ride, get whipped around, woo, whatever. You take that person at a 1 and the person that cries all the way up hanging onto the railing before they even get to sit in the bucket, they're a 10. The people that typically have the most amount of fun on a roller coaster is in that 7, 8 zone. It's still scary enough to be fun, but it's not so scary that it becomes fear or anxiety. Once you hit the 9, now it's not fun anymore. Now I just want the ride over. When it's a 10, it wasn't fun when they realized that there was a roller coaster and somebody drugged their butt and said, "You're going to be fine," and they cried the whole way. Not out of fun and excitement, total fear and anxiety. When you can take that level 9, level 10, extract the lessons, and even bring it down to an 8, to where you can realize that I'm not going to die. Worst case scenario isn't going to happen. I'm going to be fine. Now you can convert that additional energy into excitement and start to enjoy it. You still have the same amount of energy. It's just more useful. Now, fear energy is not always a bad energy. Fear energy is the energy that hits the old adrenaline dosage and allows you to run faster than you ever have in your life when you're being chased by the saber-toothed tiger. But if that energy is pumping all the time about everything, even about stuff that you don't even understand what you're fearful about, that's when it becomes a taxation and something that's not useful. Does that make sense? Anybody got any questions on that? I know I slammed through that really quick, really hard, but I've talked about it on another Triple T in more depth, and I'm willing to go into more depth if you guys would like to, if you have any questions. Yes,
I don't have a question, but I was diagnosed with severe anxiety. However, since I'm doing that, I often forget, but when I'm doing it, it is like the actual roller coaster. You really go down so fast and you come back up very quickly. Mm-hmm. I find the roller coaster is actually a great overview of it. It's helped me so much that I can actually do things now. Even I feel it, I just go for it, and I feel like I said, "Oh, this is exciting." And then if I just say in my mind, "It's exciting, I eventually feel it exciting. It's no longer, "Oh, it's scary." It's more like, "Oh, it's exciting,"
Yeah.
It kind of swishes the whole thing around, and wow, it makes a big difference. But I'm still shaking.
Yes.
Just
yep.
The feeling has switched around, and yeah, it's much nicer to feel excited than feeling scared to death.
Yay! Winning. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just works so well. It's just I don't always think about it. I wish. Well, cross fingers. I'll get more used to it and use it more often.
Yes.
I am doing it more often, but yeah, it will eventually it will kick in automatically, I suppose.
Well, and now you can also start asking yourself, why do I have the energy? What was I afraid of? And if it's truly yours, you can also ask, what's the worst case scenario? Do I die? Well, no. Then I've made it this far in life. I'll survive this as well.
Mm. Is for me, it's flashbacks or
Yep.
feeling from the past.
Yep.
So it's either I actually see like a bridge falling apart right in front of me, and then I close my eyes and open it again, and it's not happening. So
Yep.
it's sometimes difficult because sometimes I am in danger, but I don't realize it because I no longer believe in it. So I have to be kind of careful on what's real and what's not. And that's okay. We'll manage as we go.
I've got another quick little trick for you. The next time that happens, physically ask yourself, what's today's date? Oh, May 31st, 2022. Oh, I've survived everything up to this date. There's nothing from my past that I'm not stronger than. If it's stuff that's popping up from your past, you can take the lesson out of it and remind yourself, I'm not there. I am here today on May 31st, 2022. I survived that. I'm fine. And if it happens again, I'm strong enough to survive anything that comes from me from the past. I've already proven it. There's nothing from my past that I am not stronger than.
Wow.
I can prove it right now. You know how? You can hear my voice.
Yeah.
So you have survived 100% of everything life has ever thrown at you. There's nothing, not one thing from your past that you are not stronger than. Kind of cool, huh?
Yeah, and you know what? We're not the 31st of May in Australia. We're the 1st of June.
Yeah, look at there. You made it even farther than we have. You've survived one more day than I have already. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else got any input or questions on that? I see Elijah has joined us. I am honored. Thank you for joining us all the way from the UK, my friend. And Charlotte's joining us now.
Charlotte is joining us from Australia. She's in Melbourne. She's a friend of mine.
Very cool. Anything else that we want to add on anxiety and fear and excitement? Hello, Charlotte. Then anybody got any quick input or questions or directions you would like me to go on relationships? I just had a client from well, I had two clients last week, and one was a good progress report. They've got 4 months to go on their 1-year moratorium, and they are now having more fun than they've had in the last 2 years. They are seeing 3 different people at the time. All 3 of them are aware that they are seeing other people and why. And they said the best part about it is it took all the pressure off. They are not pretending, they're not showing anything but themselves. One person, one of the 3 brought up that they didn't like a certain kind of music. And they said, as soon as they brought that up, in the past when they were dating, if somebody would have said, well, I don't like that kind of music, they'd have been like, oh, well, and they said, this time, okay, I do. I listen to it a lot. I'm going to go to one of their concerts, so you probably don't want to come with. Went with somebody else. But what it did, again, it took all that pressure off, and it allowed them to see without the rose-colored glasses of excitement and trying to impress and be everything that they think the other person is looking for, instead of being exactly who they're going to be 3 years from now when they're with said person. And that takes a whole lot of pressure off of everybody. The other thing that they noted was the other 3 people that they're going out with mentioned to them that they are much more relaxed now, because they said, I don't want to see your best side. I don't want to see your best performance when you're around me. I want to see who you are. I'm done with the short-term dating. When my year is up, I'm going to be looking for this will be my last time dating, hopefully. And that's what it was all about. And one of my other clients has made it about 6 months and met somebody. And they put on a really good show for each other. And then guards started going down. And now they're questioning, because now they're in a relationship, quote unquote. And he's afraid to break it off because he's a nice guy. Values and criteria are getting in the way, as is the case with most relationships. And the other part is he's also, part of why the title for this one is, he noticed he's also pining for his ex. They've been divorced 3 years now. And so I started asking, what brought this on and everything. And as we dug deeper, turns out that he's now currently dating his ex when they first met. Noticed all the similarities. So you went for the same person in a different meat suit. And so now he's struggling because there's a lot of stuff that he likes about her, but there's also a lot of stuff that reminds him of his ex. So now he's not sure if he wants his ex back because he's dating his ex in a different meat suit, or if he wants his. Yeah, we're working that through, which again is part of my protocol for a year without a relationship. Hence, the other person who's doing it. And I admitted, I told them that I only made it 8 months. Did the best I could. But apparently I chose correctly because I decided to marry her. So there is that. But I also may or may not have utilized a whole lot of what we teach to measure energies and values and criteria. And I did not hide any of who I am. In fact, there were many times early in the relationship that I probably showed I showed my flaws on purpose. It was testing time. So, that being said, when I asked the second client why he was pining so much, well, first he didn't understand what the question was, or pining. He thought I was talking about Christmas and Christmas trees, and I said no. It's typically the strong reaction of a broken heart, and you forget all the bad stuff. You pay attention to what it was you missed the most. Oh, I love the way they smell. Da, 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 da. Yeah, well, what day was that and what time of the day? Was that when they first got out of the shower and put on their favorite cologne? Or was it truly at the end of the day when they didn't shower and climbed into bed and were smelling, shall we say, exercised? With a touch of sun and a little bit of musky dirt mixed in, just to round it off. And a lot of it hit home because I'd been there, done that. It allowed me to be not married into my 50s. Not that I'm 50, I was just, I started pining back when I was like a negative 25 or something like that. But I remember a couple of those reactions and not being able to explain it. And I wish that I would have had somebody to help me work through it, because I ain't gonna lie, it's hard. Emotions get amplified to the point of nearly uncontrolled. I remember one particular girlfriend of mine, I pined for about 5 weeks. Whole thing. Crying, didn't want to eat, couldn't sleep for squat. People at work were like, dude, plenty of fish in the sea. Don't want to hear about it. I just bought that one. Looking back, now that I got all of that under control, no. No. I've gotten a number of years to watch who she was and remembered why we weren't together. And if you think you know who I'm talking about, no, it's the other one. So stop typing or texting her. What I did for the second one is I had him go back to his journal, which turns out he didn't do quite as much homework as he said he did, about listing down all of the attributes of his perfect person. And yes, you're allowed to be self-centered or jealous or all the above. This is your one time to put in the order of absolutely who is your person, down to height, weight, eye color, hair color, length of hair, body build, how they are in bed, all the above, because this is who you're going to put the order in for. You also have to write down all of the things they are not. If you have a pet peeve, put that on there, that they do not do that. Or sure enough, you will get all of the good stuff, and then a few things that will absolutely drive you absolutely insane. And I don't know if that's payback or if that's just oversight on placing the order. It's like going to the best restaurant in the world and they say, you can order absolutely anything that your mind can dream up, and it won't cost you a thing. And you place the order, but you forget to tell the chef that you're allergic to peanuts. And he puts peanuts into the very, very tasty, crunchy crust, and you don't know about it. Some of those things need to be addressed, especially when it comes to values and criteria. Values and criteria, if as Dr. David pointed out many times, the easiest way to get rid of a person is to figure out their values and criteria and violate them. For those of you that are watching the recording, if you aren't sure what we're talking about with values and criteria, that those are the building blocks that build the foundation for your beliefs. And especially when it comes to relationships, one of Dr. David's favorite metaphors on this is you take two people in a relationship and you ask them, what's important in a relationship to you? And they both say respect. You go, okay, cool, respect. Then you separate them into two different rooms and you go, okay, well, in a relationship, how do you know that you're respected? And the first person goes, well, I know that I'm respected when you take my feelings into account, and you watch the way you say things, and we can talk things out, and you're respectful of my feelings. And then you go into the other room and you ask the other person, what you said that respect in a relationship is important to you. How do you know when you're being respected? What does that mean to you? And that person goes, when you just don't sit there and dilly-dally and talk around the bush, you get right to it. I'm a man. You can just frickin' tell me how you're feeling. Well, what happens when these two have a little disagreement? Both of them are screaming, you don't respect me. Values and criteria. And that there's no getting around, we all have it. We have values and criteria about absolutely everything. Every purchase we make, every decision we make, everything we pick to eat, what kind of music we listen to, how we treat our finances, how we look at business, all of that is values and criteria. It's also very important to understand values and criteria when hiring people and building a team, because it doesn't take very much vinegar to ruin the punch. If you get a group of people with very in align values and criteria, that team will be able to accomplish more than most people. In fact, you could take, I'm going to put this out there, you could take a team of 5 people with average education, but if all of their values and criteria are aligned, they will outperform 10 people with high educations who have conflicting values and criteria. Because those 5 with aligned values and criteria will be able to work together as a team, and they will push and lift each other up and make things work. But you put one person into that team of 5 with opposing values and criteria, and the feces hits the oscillating blade and all hell breaks loose, and a lot of times the team falls apart. My wife does recruiting, the government recruiting and stuff like that, and I've taught her a lot of the questions and drilling down to values and criteria, because of some of the positions that she's hiring are leadership positions. And their values and criteria have to be in alignment not only with the team, but with the community that they're serving. And that's a lot of values and criteria elicitation to pick the right person, regardless of how good it looks on paper. Ooh, look at all my credentials. I have all of this. And you start drilling down, and they've, hip hopped around a lot, and you start talking to people from other places, and you find out that they don't get along with people, and you start drilling down why, and it's because they, Napoleon complex, whatever you want to call it, values and criteria way out of alignment. And why am I talking about this when I started out with relationships? Is it's all relationships. It's just the girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife relationship. That's one that your values and criteria have to be even more in alignment and understood before you get together. That's why we teach 3 magic questions and values and criteria elicitation. Because if you're gonna find your person, you can, like a deck of cards, do you want the king or the queen, or do you want to deal with a 6 or an 8? And I'm going to change them. I am going to make them a king. No, you won't. You can try. You can sacrifice your values and criteria to make it work. But in the end, you're probably still walking next to 3 or 4 kings or queens that could have been yours, but you chose to stay with an 8. And when we drill down why, there's a lot of things, self-image, self-belief, the amount of work that goes into finding the right person, belief in manifesting, the homework that you do on the front side. One of my favorite questions for clients that come to me with relationship issues and when they're thinking about possibly ending it. And I love the question that I ask them is, okay, I've got a question. We're not throwing this out in the universe. It's not a suggestion. It's merely a scenario. Let's say your person forgets to wake up in the morning, like forever. They're done. They're gone. And you're allowed to grieve. And at the end of the grieving process, whether that's 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever it takes for you to get over the loss of this person, if you were to find their exact identical match down to the DNA, habits, values and criteria, everything. I mean, this person that you were with that passed away miraculously just showed up, but they had no idea who you were. They know nothing about the background. Would you date them again? And I watch the people very closely, especially those that take a bit to answer, because that's the answer. The ones that can look me straight in the eye and just like that go, yes, I'm like, then fight for it. But the ones that go, that's an answer. But I've had plenty of them that go, no. I'm like, then it's time to go. But I love them. And if you had a chance to do it all over again, if that person forgot to wake up, God forbid, this is not a suggestion, but if they forgot to wake up in the morning and 2 years from now, that exact identical everything, the way they act, the way they treat you, the way they talk to you, every single thing that they ever did showed up in front of you out in public, would you approach them and would you work to start dating them again? And if the answer is not immediately yes, then what are you doing? There are 7 billion people on this planet. You don't need to be with an 8 when you could have a king. You don't need to be with a 6 when you could have a queen. But I'm sick of being alone. Yes, being alone sucks until you're happy with yourself. And when you figure out how to be happy with yourself, that is when you're ready for a relationship. Being alone sucks, especially when you're alone. But being lonely in a relationship, trust me, sucks 100 times more. Because then you feel trapped. That's when resentment, anxiety, energies, all the above start filling in. And what I see a lot, especially in women, but guys are starting to do it a lot more as well, is unexplained weight gain. And when I drill down, it's the body's form of protection. It's an external barrier. And I've had a lot of female clients when they ask, they mention weight gain and all this stuff. And I've got clients that come to me for fitness coaching and stuff like that, even though I don't claim to be a fitness coach. it's for the mental game, the first thing I'll ask them, is this weight gain protection? And I've had a number of them. It was like, oh, wow. I'm like, yeah, your subconscious answered, didn't it? And we drill down, and it can go all the way back to, early childhood. Something was said to them, or they found out that a friend of theirs or somebody got raped and she was pretty. Oh, well, if I'm pretty, if I'm skinny and pretty like she was, I might get raped. Or, they get into a relationship and he's abusive, and okay, I need verbally or mentally abusive, I need extra layers of protection on my body like armor. And it's amazing, once they realize that and figure out how to work through that, they don't need that diet. Their self-image changes, and as soon as their self-image changes, their subconscious and their conscious realize that they don't need to have that extra protection armor on them anymore. And their body changes at a rate that they haven't seen before. Yes, you still gotta, you still gotta do all the healthy stuff. Watch what you eat. You can't be like, oh, I don't need, I'm okay, I love myself, and still be, mowing down bonbons and a 12-pack of beer on the weekends, with a couple of Big Macs and a extra large fry. But there are a number of women who were into fitness and just couldn't change their body shape. They were physically fit, they were watching what they were eating, and didn't realize that the subconscious was maintaining the extra layer as a form of protection. And that's why I tell a lot of people that are trying to get in shape, or they say they want to diet, I'm like, first off, stop saying that word. Diet is the word die with the letter T at the end of it. Look in the mirror and decide, what do you want your body to look like? Then figure out what food changes it's going to take to make that happen, and what exercises will I have to do to address that part of my body. And the amount of information that we know about now with exercising and diet and apps and everything that are out there, oh my. There are so many options now that it's crazy. So if you got a cell phone, internet access, whatever, you have access to more information in this day and age than ever before. You just need to drill down to your values and criteria and figure out, what is it going to take for you to do what you haven't done before. It's all choices. TJ, it can't be that simple. I didn't say it was simple. But the information is out there and it's available. And sometimes you need to make declarations. Sometimes you need to have partners or people or a group to help you with it. But more often than not, you have to make the decision. You have to drill down and figure out, why hasn't it happened in the past. What will I do different from here on out? Why is it important to me? And what do I want to look like, and what's my time frame, and reverse engineer that. One of my favorite clients with that was an older gentleman who had to lose weight to get a knee replacement. He's like, oh, God, this is gonna take and I know I can't work out because my knee is, and I'm like, okay. I heard a lot of excuses. That's nice. Now you know what won't work. But why is it important for you to get your knee replaced, and why is it important for you to lose weight? And when we drilled down, and when it finally got to him, what finally hit him is his favorite granddaughter was about to graduate high school, and he wanted to be able to be there, and he wanted to live long enough to dance with her at her wedding. And he knew that if he didn't get shit figured out, the only way he was going to dance with her at her wedding was in a wheelchair. Well, I'll be darned. That boy didn't figure out chair exercises and got his butt down to the YMCA and was in that pool, turned into a frickin' porpoise and learned how to back float and swim, and he realized that he had been sucking down sodas and beer and sodas and cream in his coffee, and because that's the way he liked it, and he had to have a few cookies with his coffee and cream. Well, it was actually he enjoyed having a couple of cookies with his sugar and cream that he added coffee to in the morning. And when he changed all that, the funny part was 6 months later, his daughter came to visit, and she always used to make him coffee in the morning. And she made him coffee the old style. He said that first sip woke him up because he was like, whoa, She's like, what's the matter? He goes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I drink my coffee black now. Really? Yeah. He didn't realize how syrupy his coffee had been for so many years until he'd not had it that way for a number of months. Same thing. He used to drink one of the things. The other things he enjoyed was Mountain Dew. And about a week after his daughter made him coffee, he was over at a friend's house. Nice hot sunny summer day, and they were sitting outside, and his friend went in the house and brought out 2 ice cold cans of Mountain Dew, because that's what they used to do. Do. And he took a sip because he was thirsty and realized there was no way he was going to be able to finish a quarter of the can, because he said it literally tasted like it was concentrate. It was so thick, so syrupy, so sweet, so He goes, I don't know how I used to drink 3, 4, 5 cans of this a day. Well, a year later, he had already lost 80 pounds and got his new knee. And I haven't heard from him for a couple of months, but last I heard, the knee operation had gone quite well, and he was in um, physical therapy. So, changed his relationship with himself, drilled down to his values and criteria, found a reason to make changes that he didn't for so many years. And that was a whole lot of stuff wrapped up into one little thing. And that brings us 5 minutes to the top of my hour of chatting. Didn't even get to the other two. But any feedback, aha, questions in regard to this? Bueller?
Hey, DJ, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Linda.
I got a little bit of insight on that same kind of topic today, and it might be a little esoteric for this group, but I've been doing taking a class on reading and studying on the subtle realms and subtle bodies, and I realized today that I guess the best way to describe it would be my my subtle body, my etheric body,
Uh-huh.
is larger than it needs to be. I literally, and when you're talking about, it's kind of hard to explain it, but when you're talking about it, I realized that what happened was that in order to protect myself, I enlarged my etheric body, which is, excuse me, your energy body.
Yeah.
And so just today, I realized that, and I said, okay, now I've got to reset that energy body, got to reset that etheric body, and I've got to put it back in a place that's more appropriate. So then I started thinking about, well, how am I going to do that? So how am I going to, I know how to reset it mentally, emotionally, psychologically. But I think that in order to get the cooperation of my subconscious on this point, I'm going to have to find some way that I can assure my sub that, she's going to be safe. Otherwise, I don't think I'm going to be successful at compacting not compacting, but, and I don't want to say shrinking either, but getting my etheric body back down into an appropriate shape.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
If you redesigned, if you thought of it like armor,
Mm-hmm.
if you were to redesign the body armor into something of a different material, back in the day, in the King Arthur times, everything was huge and massive and metal, and the more metal, the safer you were. And now with today's composition, it's body form fitting, and it can actually stop bullets. So if you were to think of the ability to let your subconscious know that I'm not losing the safety factor I'm redesigning what it's made of, and I'm actually going to enhance it to be stronger than it was before. It will just be thinner. Would that be one approach that might be worth looking into?
I rather don't think so, because I don't think it's it's not like there's a coating. So I think that what I think it's probably going to be more appropriate if I do some strength training.
Okay.
Or some martial arts training, or something along that way that actually works with the chi and the energy pathways in the body. I think that the energy pathways are disrupted to some degree. And I think that my short-term solution at the time was simply to expand the etheric body, the energy body, because it wasn't strong enough. So, size was a alternative. But I think really what I need is, I think the root cause is less of a image or the word I want, mental framework. I think it's more of a actual energy pathway, energy distribution at the root of the problem.
Okay.
Does that make any sense at all?
It does to me, because I know what I've dealt with it, and we can work with that more on a one-to-one basis if you would like.
Sure.
Anybody else have any questions or comments or input? Dealer?
Hi, Linda. I had a question. When you were describing it, some questions that came up that don't have to talk here. You specifically mentioned martial arts.
Yeah.
Do you have an image that's coming up of you doing martial arts with strength training? Like, how are you looking at yourself? Are you through your eyes? Are you looking at yourself? What kind of protective gear would a martial artist wear? Because you went very specifically to that. So that was some of the questions that were coming up.
Yeah.
So questions for you. Here you go.
Sure. And that's actually pretty easy to answer. The reason for the martial arts is because martial arts does a lot with energy balance and energy distribution within the body. And what I really want to do is, right now, I believe, and again, this just came to me today, I'm still kind of working it through, that my energy body is distributed more like the Michelin Man or the Stay Puft guy or something. It's expanded, and that expansion creates protection. The way I've actually imaged what is correct is more like a steel pole or an iron pole that would maybe roughly correspond to the chakra system or the energy distribution system in the body. So that's really why I went to martial arts. I see me moving my body. I don't see clothing. I don't see a dojo. I don't see any of that. And, something like Qigong or might do just as well. But I see my physically moving my body to reestablish the correct energy flows will help me bring all the energy back to the center core where it belongs.
Awesome.
Elijah?
Linda, would you mind if I asked you a couple questions? You don't have to answer them if you don't want to.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. How does expanding it, kind of like the Michelin Man or the Stay Puft guy, how does that create the safety or the reassurances that you need?
The only thing I can give you, Elijah, is that size is power. Size is strength. And you don't know me, but I'm really small. I'm like about 5 foot nothing. And my whole life I've dealt with, they say that what's the word I want? Discrimination. One of the reasons discrimination is hard to eliminate is because people who are discriminatory honestly don't see it. They honestly don't understand. They just don't know. It's so ingrained they don't know that's what they're doing. And I can tell you from the position of being a very short woman my entire life, that 90% of the people, probably more, in the world discriminate against short people. And they have absolutely no idea they're doing it, but they look over top of you. It's very, very subtle. They'll talk down. It's very clear to me that in many ways, I'm not, I don't know what the word is, not quite up to snuff in a lot of physical size ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that expanding myself, I can't make myself taller, and I probably would if I could. But I can at least expand myself, and it doesn't make common sense. I'm not even certain it makes intuitive sense, but the closest thing that I can come up to it is that bigger size is strength.
Would you agree that all people are equal, or at least in value?
Well, you're going to have to define that, Elijah.
Like, let's say, I mean, I don't know if people here are religious or not, but let's say, for example, we were all kind of before God or before, some kind of judgment thing. Do you think that all people have equal value, or do you think some are more worthy than others?
Well, let me reframe that just a tiny bit. I can tell you that all souls are equal, and all souls have equal value. If you're going to talk about people, then you're going to have to talk about the specific parameters. I mean, not everybody can't run the same speed, and everybody, you know what I'm trying to say? But yeah, all souls are equal. Absolutely. Oh yeah, totally.
Okay. And so if all souls are equal, and yours is contained in a smaller body, would that not make it more concentrated? Is that not another type of strength?
Well, I kind of see where you're going there, Elijah. But I've done a little snooping around in this area, and I believe that our soul, our essence, is actually in reality infinitesimally small and infinitesimally contained. It's really, 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 really tiny in terms of what we see in our hard physical 3D existence. Right. So I see where you're going with that. But I don't think it's a concept I would be able to maintain. I could play with it and use it at certain times, like, power poses. I could, whip it out of the box when I needed it and used it for a short period of time. But I don't think it's the kind of thing that would stay with me on a long-term consistent basis in order to make the shift I want to make, if that makes sense.
So in order to make the shift you want to make, you would require something that would work more long-term. Right?
More long-term than that.
Yeah. And how do you think that might be possible?
Well, I mean, the next thing I'm going to try is working with my, etheric and energy body, bringing the
Mhm.
energy back into that, and making a very solid core out of my energy. Now, there's a lot of places I can go with that. Bringing my chakras into balance, moving my body, learning how to move the energy and, move the chi and physically make my muscles stronger. I don't think it's a single prong approach. I think it's going to
Oh,
require,
absolutely. Do
yeah,
you think that by taking these steps, that the part of you that wanted to expand in the first place would be would have a feeling of safety enough to retract back the other way?
strength.
Strength, yeah.
Yeah, the possibility exists. I don't know yet how it's going to work out, but I do believe that the possibility exists. It's worth giving it a good shot.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
Appreciate it.
very welcome.
Good stuff. Anybody else have any questions or input? Giller? All the above? Well, this is the second part of Triple T where it's open mic, and thank you, Linda, for sharing that input and allowing us to give our ideas on it. Does anybody have anything else that they would like to bring up or share with the group, or you need me to go on with more stuff? I got lots of stuff. Before we get to the other things I posted on Facebook, a couple of quotes that came up the over the past week, and one of them struck me, and I don't remember where it came from. People will never rise above the opinions of themselves. Be careful, again, what you say about yourself, how you say it, even in jest. Your conscious and subconscious apparently don't hear humor or accents. It pretty much reads what you say kind of like a teleprompter. Everything is just stated. Anybody want to comment on that one, or you want to hear a couple more? This one will tie in. When you want to help people, tell them the truth. When you want to help yourself, tell them what they want to hear. Thomas Sowell. I'll read it again. When you want to help people, you tell them the truth. When you want to help yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. And I've shared that with a few people. Apparently, I tell a lot of people the truth. Sometimes whether they want to hear it or not. That's how I am. Kind of like this. I sent this as a text to somebody, and because of a conversation we were having, and I said, the universe is full of energy. It's also full of energy vampires. There's more than enough energy in the universe beyond comprehension. And I saw a deal on Instagram, I can't remember her name right now, but talking about how some people are put on this earth to emit good energies. That's just their their whole purpose in life is to go around and emit good energies. They're the kind of people that walk into a room and everything just kind of, nobody knows why. But she also stated that a lot of those people don't like people. And they don't understand what their purpose is. They just feel like they should be doing something or doing something else or whatever, because they don't realize that their purpose on this planet is to distribute this energy that helps people to relax and enjoy their setting. Then there's a lot of the rest of us who are still working on understanding our energy and tracking it, and we have to be cognizant of the energy vampires who, when we're around them, suck the energy from us, out of us. Linda, you had a hand up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just realized something, and I'm going to back up a second. And this is, I just realized that Lenora and Elijah don't have context for what I'm going through. And it would be very hard to understand. This isn't about weight or sexuality, or I mean, it is about weight, but it isn't about sexuality or sexual attractiveness or relationships. So just briefly, this goes back, I don't know, 5-6 years. I had a really super big major life change, which went some really super major craziness. And after that, my true love came back and spent 6 months and died. And then my dad died. And then my big dream in life came true. And then it dissolved in front of me. And I had to sue to get my property back. And I had another, all wrapped up and involved in that was a relationship, which I thought was something and turned out to be something completely different. So this is really not about just relationships or dating. I don't have that much concern about, finding a relationship. This is about, if I go back out and try again in terms of my business, my projects, my really living my life as who I am I going to get the crap knocked out of me again? And if I do, am I going to survive it? Or will I just crawl into a hole and say, I give? And I'm not really a giver. You know what I mean? Not in that type sense. I don't, I fight back. I'm not dirty, but I'm not going to let people run me over. And, but how much fight have I got left in me? And I think what it comes down to is that I reassure myself and I take, what's the word I want? Comfort in food. It's reward, it's comfort, it's sedative. And if I'm going to give up short-term reward, comfort, and sedative and walk back out on the stage again, I'm going to have a backbone of iron. And I believe that's what this is about. This isn't about attractiveness weight. This is about putting on the gloves and getting back in the ring. And can I take the hits? And I think that's why this is about shrinking that energy back down to a core. And I'm not certain that I have the words that I can describe this for you, but and I'm not really, given a week, I probably could come up with a really good analogy. And yes, the expanded body is a protection, but it's an energetic protection in a lot of ways. And I understand it always is. But in this particular case, I have to give up short-term coping skills and mechanisms in order to reset the energetic status back to having enough strength, like I said, to, walk back out on the stage and have another shot, step up to the plate and swing for the bleachers again.
And thank you so much for your vulnerability, Linda. I know it's very difficult and also very very unique to be able to stand out and express how you're feeling right now, especially on this platform. So thank you very much for your honesty and your sincerity. I do have a fair bit of experience, especially when it comes to emotional eating and working through coping mechanisms. In my personal experience, of which you may or may not agree, I found it to be very layered. It was a safety net for every emotion that I could possibly feel. And I had to work through each component of what was coming up, because as I was eating, I might have been having physical desires. I might have been having hunger desires. I might have been stressing. It could have been any one of them. And I think when it comes to very much when you're trying to maneuver through something and you're coping at the same time with food, it does take a bit of time and a bit of navigation to work through it. And I think it would definitely be worth exploring, because the things that you want to do and the things that lit you up, you could hear it in your voice, and there seems to be that desire to move forward, and also that fear. So we're talking about the anchor and the rocket, and to deal with the anchors and allow yourself to move forward. And you might not go completely rocketing ahead at 1,000 miles per minute, but you'll feel that progress forward. So I understand you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you understand it's, in order to lose the weight, then there's got to be something else there to hang on to. And it's not that much weight, frankly. I mean, it might be 15, 20 pounds. And it probably wouldn't be like a huge deal to anybody but me. And to me, it's a deal. You know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
And I think it's a representation of my ability to regain my strength, to regain my core, to regain my energy, and, put all the mojo back in place. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. Anybody else have anything else they want to share? Very good. What if we roll this into the Hells Shall Put on Facebook manifesting? And if you were to use the protocol of manifesting and stuff like this, how would you word what you would like to manifest out of that vision, that desire, that outcome? Out of curiosity. For those of you that are listening in and manifesting is something that you heard of but don't fully understand or comprehend, you can contact me for more insight on that. But basically it's the understanding that the universe has plenty of everything. There is nothing that it is short of. And some people are, just through childhood or religion or whatever, have a scarcity mentality of, there's only so much, and I only deserve, this much, and you have to work really, 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 really hard to get the things that you should have. And then they look over at other people that things just seem to fall in their lap. Like, man, I wish I had a blue car. And 2 weeks later, they've got a blue car. And you're like, what the what? And they seem to have the best of everything. But they work what looks like to be half as hard as you do. And some of these people understand manifesting and the asking for and putting the order in and defining what it is you're looking for and for the correct intentions. A lot of the people in the know, they say that make sure that what you're asking for and attempting to manifest is not taking away from somebody else or wishing harm upon others, that it's for proper intentions to make the world, even if it's your world, a better place without it being at the expense of others. And so wording and understanding this are important, especially with the wording. Even if we look back at the relationship thing that I talked on earlier, that's why I have the journal written down of who it is you're looking for, as though you've already known them intimately for at least 5 years. Every small, tiny, minuscule detail about them, the more detail you can put in, the more likely you are to manifest that person. And again, that also includes making sure that you include things that you don't want. Dr. David teaches image cycling as a form of manifesting. And I'm not going to go into that right now. I may teach a class on it in the future. But the long and short of it is you make it clear what you're looking for, what you want, and you send it off into the universe and you let it go, expecting it to show up. In the same fashion that you would go to a restaurant and place an order, expecting it to be delivered to your table. You would never place an order with the waitress, I'll have a number 7, hash browns crispy. And then as she starts walking towards the kitchen, follow her there. And then, tell the chef, hey, I'm the one over on table 12. I ordered the number 7, hash browns crispy. Yes. Yeah, that's me. Just so you know, table 12, that's me. Number 7, crispy hash browns. Number 7. Yeah, me. How are we doing on that number 7, hash browns crispy? For me on table. You would never do that. And yet a lot of people will put out a request and then they sit there and they're like, hey, this hasn't shown up yet. And they keep throwing the request out there. Or they put the request in and it shows up and they forget to take it off of their list. Which there's power, there's joy in being able to cross things off your list. That's one of the reasons why I tell people, especially those that have problems with getting projects done. Do you have a list? Well, if it's a really long list, you need to have your top three priorities written down for the next day. If you've got more than 3 top priorities, you don't have any. Now, they may be small items that, it'll only take me a half an hour. But if it's a top priority, it needs to be on the list. That way, when you've crossed all 3 of your top 3 priorities, now you can add another 3. And some days you may get through 27 top 3 priorities. Because in setting the intention for the top 3 priorities, bam, they get done. The squirrels show up and you're like, not right now. I got to get this done, go climb a tree. Or you take a snapshot of the squirrel and you go, and he goes at the bottom of the list. But when you've got as many squirrels as I do, those of you that know me know my life is a squirrel show in a nut farm with a lot of caffeine, and I don't know what else they're on. They are everywhere. So there are times I absolutely have to have a list. And again, it is super cool to be able to write the list and then cross them off the list. Even if it's first thing in the morning, brush your teeth and put on underwear. Hey, got that one done. Woohoo! On to the next project. It's also the reason why I tell everybody, especially those that have self-image and depression challenges, make your bed first thing in the morning. A, it's a sign that it's time to start the day, and B, it's one of the first things you've accomplished. Because you can walk in, the bed is all frumpled up, and some of us know how tempting it is to just go climb back in just for that 5 minutes of magical time where time warp speed happens. You close your eyes and 2 hours passes, just like that. Warp speed. Best sleep you've had all night, but at what expense? And so you make your bed and you look at it and you go, there, I accomplished something today. And if you make it and it looks really nice, it's more challenging when you get the urge to want to crawl back in because you don't want to mess it up. That's for when it's time to, that's your reward at the end of the night when you've gotten all your things done, is you get to climb into a well-made bed. And many years ago, I didn't even realize this. I had already been helping people with visualization. Is I would tell people, okay, tonight, as a reward, I want you to think about a place that you would love to visit, whether you've been there before or you've just, it's a perfect fantasy. And what I want you to do before it's time to go to bed, if you normally tuck your sheets in tight, I want you to pull them out loose. If you normally sleep with your with your sheets loose, or you make your bed with the sheets loose, tuck them in. Make your bed differently than you normally do. Then when it's time to go to bed, hopefully you've gotten used to your bedroom enough to where you don't need the lights on. And I want you to close the bedroom door before it's time to go to bed. When it's time to go to bed, I want you to get ready for bed outside of the bedroom. And then when you're ready to actually climb into bed, stop in front of the door, close your eyes, slowly turn around 3 times, and then walk through the door into the bedroom of your dreams. And with your eyes closed, I want you to look around the room and notice what the room looks like. And I had a few favorite scenarios, like you walk into the bedroom and you look over, and across the way is a window, and outside of that window, you know that there's an apple orchard. And you can smell the smell of the apple orchard, and there's a fjord down there, and on the other side, the mountains rise up from the fjord, and you can see the apple trees in bloom on the other side of the fjord. And there's a fireplace over here, and the fire just is dwindling down to that last little bit of coals. The room is nice and warm. Walk over to your bed and climb in, and notice how it feels so different than the bed you normally sleep in. Lay down, and even though you still got your eyes closed, you can see the A-frame roof line, the timbers. You can smell the smoke from the fireplace faintly. And just allow yourself to fall asleep in that new environment. And notice how amazingly you sleep. And yes, I was doing this 30 years ago. I had no idea that I was doing NLP and hypnosis. But I watched a couple of you and realized that it's kind of a cool bedroom, isn't it? The cool part is you can do that anytime you want. And you could even turn that into a form of manifesting, because those places are out there. I know. The bedroom I described is one that I got to sleep in for 3 months in Norway on a fjord. That's why it's so easy for me to describe. But with today's travel videos all over, it's pretty easy to pick one out and watch it a little bit and go, that's where I'm going to go tonight. And do the same protocol with your bedroom and your room, and have fun with it. Take a trip and never leave the farm. And it's affordable. Any questions, ahas, epiphanies on that one? Anything you'd like, anybody want to share? Yes, Francine.
I think it's very important to just let it go, but also to write down what you don't want, and not to forget to take them off, because it's just bang gone.
Yes, the universe will, just like if you, if at the restaurant, if it shows up and you don't take a bite, if it sits on the table long enough, the chef will come out and think that he screwed up and take it. So yes, Francine.
Yes, I was visual. I put a new vehicle into my what do you call it,
Image.
manifesting thing.
Yep.
And I totaled my car. I should have maybe said that I want a new car and then have this one too.
Well, and the cool part is, what'd you learn from it? And now you can.
Yeah, I've learned that you have to be very specific and that you have to let it go and just put it aside and just know it will come. It's like you said, you're at a restaurant, you just expect it to come. You just know it will come.
Yes.
And yeah, it just comes.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
And I've seen it work way too many times for anybody to convince me that it doesn't work.
So if you have like someone you know and they're doing it, but they're still not managing, how would you do the whole thing with them again, or?
The one thing that just popped in that Dr. David mentions quite a bit in his training is a lot of people are afraid to ask or truly send it out there because, well, what if it shows up and I don't like it? Well, if it was that easy to manifest the first version, manifest a better version next time.
Okay.
Allow it to show up. If it didn't turn out the way you had hoped, learn from what the shortage was and put that into the next one and send it back out. Again, we're asking for not even a coffee cup of water out of 7 oceans with what the universe has available. And yet people are afraid to ask for a tablespoon. Well, why do I deserve I should, it'll just, I'll be given what I should have. Yeah, if you don't ask, you will be given what you should have. And it'll be a lot less than what you could have. And a whole lot less than you actually do deserve.
Yeah. It's interesting. Is that sometimes we have limitations in our mind, and I think that it's important to work on those first.
Yeah. Or work on them during. It was really fun watching people manifesting that didn't believe in it. They'd show up for the class, or David would do it during a mastermind session or something, and I could sense the people that weren't really into it, but they would do it anyway. And then magically something would show up right off of their list, and they'd be like, "Oh, it worked! Oh my God!" Yeah, sure did. One of them was a lady that she admitted she just went along for the ride because we were all there doing it, and it was part of the homework. And she put in an order, decided what the heck, put in an order for a very specific white car that she drove back to class a month later. 2 weeks after manifesting, it showed up in a fashion that they gave her more for her trade-in than she knew it was worth, brought the price down, and gave her a loan that she could easily afford. It was a little hard for her to deny.
Well, it's interesting. For my old car that got totaled, I actually got way more than I would have gotten if I would have sold it. Way more. I was actually quite surprised.
And that's where this power comes in. Again, so many people are afraid to put requests in and manifest for all sorts of things, including relationships and jobs and physical items and income and people to help. I'm about to start a new list because I've already crossed off a whole bunch of stuff on the last one I did. Time to start over. There's still a whole lot of water in them 7 oceans. And that segues, just like a wave, into the other deal that I posted on Facebook for tonight, which was jobs. And with all the stuff that's been going on in the world in the last couple of years, it amazes me, sadly, the amount of help wanted signs around the world. And the amount of income capable with nothing more than a smartphone or access to the internet. And so I've gotten in a few people's faces of, if you're unemployed, it's by choice right now. It is. There's no excuse to be unemployed in this day and age right now. The difference is, well, I don't want to work for X amount of dollars, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to. Okay. But what are you doing right now? Get a good enough job until you get the amazing job. Take on I was looking for a job when I got this one approach. If you're at a job that causes anxiety or sucks, or you don't like the people you're working with, or you don't like the work that you're doing, or you don't feel like you're getting paid what you're worth, when's the last time you looked for a better job? When's the last time you wrote down what that better job would be? What does that look like? And I've challenged a couple of people. I'm like, write down what would be the absolute, oh my flippin' word, I can't believe this even exists, and I cannot believe people get paid to do it. I would do it. I would pay somebody to be able to do that. Well, guess what? Somebody is doing that work, and they are getting paid well. And it could be you if you would go out and look for that job. One client that I'm working with, one of the things he absolutely loves to do is hike. And he's good at fixing stuff, and he's kind of outdoorsy. But he's been working as an electrician assistant, pulling wires and things of that nature, and some warehouse work and stuff that he hates. And right now he's laid off. And so I asked him, to write down that list. And, I said, dude, for one, Do you or do you not enjoy hiking? Well, yeah, you know that. Put that on the list. Well, nobody's going to pay me to hike. Wow. No wonder you can't find the job you like. Said, I happen to know where he lives, and I did a quick research, and I said, there's a town 14 miles north of you that you know of very well. The city is actually looking for a Parks and Rec employee for trail maintenance. And it pays $4 an hour more than you were making pulling wire. What? What? Yeah, and guess what you have to do on trail maintenance? Got to hike all those trails that you are already hiking. I said, how do you think they stay in shape? You know, all the trail markers and the posts and all that stuff. Somebody takes care of those. What if that was you? Well, I'd do that for free. I went, what if they paid you better than you were getting paid? Really? Yes. Now, what would that job be if it was even 10 times better? Well, then he finally started thinking. And so we're going to see where he goes with that. But, you know, they're out there. There's so many options available now. You know, there you could probably even research on YouTube or whatever jobs you didn't think existed. Because I remember seeing a couple of those videos where they were posting, doing stories on some of the stuff that people were doing for work. And even I'm going, you've got to be kidding me. Somebody actually gets, really, somebody gets paid to do that? Like, seriously? One of them, back in the day before I met my wife, there was actually a chef for a private yacht, year-round. And the owners of the yacht spent 3 months on the yacht, but paid him a year's wages. And he wasn't cooking in a chintzy kitchen either. I saw that kitchen. Granted, I saw what he was cooking. I would gladly make that for them 3 months out of the year. Because when they disclosed what, he wouldn't say exactly what he was making, but he gave a range. The bottom of the range was 3 times what I make. And that yacht was, yeah. And for the 9 months that they weren't there, he didn't get to party on it, but he was allowed to bring a friend every now and then because it needed maintenance. When they just sit unused, it's harder on them than it is to at least have some things working and flowing and things of that nature. And that way also the kitchen was always ready to go with very short notice. Yes, those jobs exist. They are out there. And because they're out there, if you manifest something like that, it's not too hard for the universe to connect the dots. Even if it's a virtual job. So, now you guys get to decide if there was something that you could do to give back to the universe or give back to people or to make some extra money or to make a whole lot of extra money or to make ridiculous extra money. What could it be? What would you do? What's possible? Because it is possible. It is out there. And there are thousands and thousands of options. I know, because I'm finding more and more every day. There's a lady that I follow on Instagram who has boring jobs, side hustles. Some of them you don't even need money to get into. That sounds like a scam. That's probably why you're not doing it, Bart. But somebody is doing it. And they're making good side money. And one of the things that I learned back in the day, a vast majority of households would be able to avoid foreclosure simply with an additional $500 a month income. $500. And some of these side hustles and these boring incomes make a very comfortable living. And then you start to realize that there are 17-year-old multimillionaires who started with nothing. Mommy and daddy didn't give them $1 million to start their business. They just figured out that the internet is a big place and there's a whole freaking lot of money in this universe, and they deserve to earn as much as they can, and they do it, and they do it well. And I am pleasantly offended by their miraculous ability to find this and make it work in a humongous way at the age of 17, 18, 20, whatever. And then when they tell you how they did it, I think that's where the amazed awe and anger all set in at the same time. You're like, you what? How do what? Made how much do it what? With a what? How many days a week? Where? By the pool? On your computer? Well, there you have it, folks. And that brings us up to the 8 o'clock hour. Thanks again for showing up and making Triple T more than just me, and for your input and your questions and your vulnerability and all the above, for making Triple T what I wanted it to, what I envisioned it to be, and hope it to continue to grow and help more and more people. So before we sign off, anybody got any last minute things they want to share? Ahas, epiphanies, questions, all the above? If not, I will just say thanks again for sticking around. Share this with as many people as you can. Make sure that you click subscribe, ring the little bell, all the above. Help me to get this out to help as many people as we can. That's my current goal and golden path, and I enjoy it, obviously. So, love you all.
Thank
Have a
you.
good weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Get all of this stuff taken care of. One more down. So what do you guys think? How was that one?
It was good, but we're still on live on YouTube.
Are we?
Yeah.